morning, everybody. Making another video. My first video since all of my videos have been demonetized. It's quite a sinking feeling. But I have, I have a good feeling that by November I should reach to the, what do you call it? 4,000 hours, and maybe they'll give me another chance to be monetized unless they change the rules again by then. I mean, it's quite ridiculous what's going on with the monetization rules and everything, and it was quite sad, to open up my YouTube, what is it called, the studio or whatever it's called, and to see not even an opportunity to monetize the videos. It's just all gone. And so even though I do have over 1,000 subscribers, but I didn't meet that threshold of 4,000 hours for this year, hopefully I'll be able to maintain and keep growing subscribers throughout the coming year, but or at the very least to stay above 1,000. And if my views stay pretty much consistent, I should be able to oh, this is a lousy place to pull someone over. I should be able to make it to 4,000 hours. Again, who knows if they're going to change that. That's not what I'm making a video about today. One of my most popular videos this year was about the film. Actually, two of my most popular videos this year was about the film One of Us. And I did make it through the film now. And so now I wanted to talk in light of today. We had the very sad news of the passing of the Reverend Billy Graham. And I remember 2005 going with my roommate in college, Rabbi Ben Greenberg, who's somewhat well known as well, maybe more well known than me, I don't know. And we walked over, or maybe we took the bus. I think we walked, if I can remember. It wasn't that far of a walk, and it was a nice day. Maybe it took us, I don't know, a half hour, 40 minutes to walk over next to Shea Stadium. It was that called Flushing Meadow Park. We were at Lander College, and we went in 2005 to Billy Graham's last big crusade, and that was in New York City and Queens. We didn't get to see the Reverend Graham. We just mainly went to see the crowd. We found it, it's a sociologically interesting thing to see a crowd like that. Although, in a way, I kind of regretted, I would have liked to maybe for a few minutes just put my eyes on Billy Graham just to see it, and certainly to listen to him speak in person. I think would have been an interesting thing. I found out many years later, some of my own rabbis said that they learned public speaking skills and so forth from listening to Billy Graham. Which shows that we can have different views and different ideas and still find what we can learn. Like our sages say, who is wise? He who learns from all people, and we shouldn't be so quick to dismiss people from other religions and so forth, the way many people are wont to do. And, I have some memories of that. I remember, this one lady we spoke to, we were only there for a few minutes. I remember specifically taking pictures there and posting them on my Yahoo Photos group, which now is Flickr, and actually the photos are still up from when we were there. And I remember seeing a squirrel that its tail was all manged or something, like it looked, like a rat's tail. It didn't look like a squirrel's tail. It didn't have all the fur on it, the bushy fur that a squirrel's tail usually has. And that's one thing I remember seeing there. And And I remember we spoke to one lady, and she said, she asked if we were Messianic Jews, and said no. And I said, that's not really Judaism, it's Christianity. So why are you here? I was looking around, interested to see a crowd like this. And she said, well, it's nice that you're searching. And we weren't really searching. We weren't looking for anything really spiritual. Searching, we were there more sociological interest, even though we were devoutly religious people and still are. And true to our Judaism, but we were interested. The same thing if the Dalai Lama would have come, probably also would have been interested to go see a crowd or something like that. Or the Pope or anybody else. It's interesting to see, especially there's something about an event being outdoors that then you're not like entering into a building. I don't know, that may, if it would have been indoors, you had to pay tickets or something, probably wouldn't have gone, it would have deterred us from going. Although we weren't there during the actual rally, we were there after Reverend Graham had left already. It was always interesting. I'll tell you, my attitude about Billy Graham earlier, when I was younger, was, rather negative, even in comparison to other, evangelical leaders who I had more respect for. I tended to have more respect for, especially when I was younger and I was kind of a Kahanist, I guess. Not fully. I never really was a big fan of the state of Israel. Was never a flag-waving Zionist, but I did kind of believe Kahana's ideology of trying to make Israel into a religious country and things like that, which I've changed my tune, obviously. Really, pretty much when I went to Eretz Yisrael, when I went to Yerushalayim and sat and learned there, and went and spent some time, on a fairly regular basis, every couple of weeks or so, listening to a shiur at Rabbi Kahana's own yeshiva. I would go often there to sit and listen to lectures, and sometimes they would play videos of Rabbi Kahana and things. And just, because I wanted to get different perspectives and things. And by that time, I had already kind of felt uncomfortable with it. A friend of mine who probably had one of the biggest influences on me against Zionism, a fellow upstate New Yorker, me from Sullivan County and him from Ulster County, Rabbi Ian Pincus, very, very choshevi German. It's someone who accomplished great things in his life, and very young in his life, brilliant genius. And and he went with me once or twice to go listen to a shiur there, just out of curiosity, similar to how I went with Rabbi Greenberg to hear. We didn't go to hear Billy Graham. We missed him. We didn't get. But the fascinating thing was that, like this lady who we were speaking to, and she's like, now he's all done and he's ready to go to heaven. And maybe she, named an individual that he's going to meet, that she thinks he's going to meet there, so it was 13 years later. He was 86 at that time. So, and unfortunately, we lost him today at 99. But he was truly a great man who really had tremendous impact on the history of the United States of America. In the past few year or two, maybe a little bit more, I get, I don't buy a newspaper, but a lot of newspaper articles and comic strips and columns are available on a email server called Arcamax. I think it's called Arcamax. I think it's called. And so I get some comic strips. I usually read them in the bathroom, in the morning, something like that. And then there are many different columns, advice columns, and so forth that you can subscribe to there, and political columns and so forth. And the only one that I that I subscribe to was Billy Graham, and I've gotten a lot out of it, reading Billy Graham's advice column. And I'm pretty sure that he was writing this. I read one today before I knew that he'd passed away. And I don't know. I don't think these were old. Maybe because they always seem to be pretty contemporary, connected even to current events and holidays and things like that. So I'm not sure, but I think that he was still writing these advice columns up until very recently. I could be wrong. That I'm not sure. I haven't listened too much to Billy Graham, although I have been reading his advice columns. Not every day, I don't always read it, but every now and then I'll peruse it. One thing I see that's very appealing is his simplicity. He wasn't making, I like to listen, although recently, since things changed with WMCA, their lineup, I used to listen a lot to Christian radio, and just like some of my rabbis have told me, they sometimes it's just to get a story or a joke that you can use in a sermon or something. Even if we disagree in our theology, but we have enough in common with Christians that we can learn from each other. And sometimes I would even call into the shows, argue with them. Sometimes some of those recordings are even on YouTube. Some of the pastors who I called up, they were interested enough to share what I had to say. And on their YouTube channel, they thought it was interesting enough to make a video from their radio show, things like that. But I enjoyed listening very much to R.C. Sproul, because I felt like I was in a college class, listening to a professor, and Billy Graham is not like that. Everything is very simple and perhaps simplistic in a certain way, but simplicity in our circles is considered virtuous. Obviously, the Breslover Hasidim put tremendous emphasis on simplicity and not to delve too much into questions of philosophy and theology and things like that. And there's a difference between simplicity and being simplistic. Sometimes I felt Billy Graham was being simplistic, rather than the simplicity that we strive for. I'm not saying I'm a Breslover Chassid, but I have tremendous respect for the Breslover ideology, and I find it a source of inspiration. And especially when I read someone like Rabbi Jeffrey Siegel, and he explains, because he is an intellectual and he is an educated individual, and yet he embraces the Breslover simplicity in a way that I find to be radically different, that is not simplistic, that's actually quite complicated and quite it's not complicated, but it's quite intellectual. That there's an intellectual simplicity that's not simplistic, because intellectual simplicity is usually intellectual honesty, and I think that's really what Rabbi Siegel brings out. He should be well. It's like the story I shared some time ago about Fulton Sheen meeting Professor Benjamin Alexander, who was Jewish. He was a Reformed Jew from England, and Professor Alexander, wrote all kinds of crazy things in theology, none of which has been accepted as part of Reformed Jewish theology. He's pretty much unknown in most circles, Benjamin Alexander. But he was saying things that Fulton Sheen pointed out to him were quite ridiculous. And when Fulton Sheen offered to him but he won all kinds of awards for his theories and his philosophy and scholarship. And Fulton Sheen asked him if he would like to study with him some of the old texts, and he said, no. If you want to be famous, you got to come up with something new. And so, obviously, someone like this Benjamin Alexander, all he cared about was being famous, and not about truth or helping people. And perhaps that's why he really is not famous, as opposed to someone like, I don't think Billy Graham really cared about being famous. He wanted to be famous as a tool to save other souls according to his beliefs and his own theology. But his strive for fame was not out of self-interest, but rather out of altruism. And that's why he was so famous, probably, and so too we could say about Fulton Sheen. And I only heard about Billy Graham passing on the Glenn Beck show, and I remember some years ago Glenn Beck visiting Billy Graham, perhaps it was his birthday, and he was sitting there holding hands with Billy Graham, and he described a similar meeting with the Dalai Lama. Glenn Beck is fantastic. I don't know why people hate him so much. He is, to me, I think Glenn Beck is a prophetic voice in the wilderness. He's really quite an incredible person, especially now. What he was talking about today, Glenn Beck, he was talking about going and saving slaves in the Middle East from ISIS, and how today there are more slaves than there were in the whole 400 years of the Western slave trade, and yet the media ignores this, the world ignores this, and he's out there fighting to help abolish slavery in our modern day. And that's something I think everybody should be behind, and I don't know why more people are not, unless the media has some kind of agenda. But he said that when he met Billy Graham was like, "Oh, you're Glenn Beck. Oh, I've heard of you. So nice to meet you." And how that made him feel, and how wonderful that was, but also to see the humility of Billy Graham, and some people pointed out that Billy Graham was nonpartisan. And maybe that's part of the reason why I wasn't such a fan of him in my younger days, as much as I had more respect for someone like Pat Robertson or Jerry Falwell. But we could go a little further and talk about Billy Graham. His humility. I mean, that story reminds me of, I saw a tweet from Joel Hodgson, who I met 3 times, and he remembered me the second and third time from the first time. which is quite incredible. And and Joel Hodgson is a comedian, and he said that he once met, he tweeted a picture of him together with Mel Brooks, and Mel Brooks told him, "Oh, I love your show with the robots and the movies." And then Joel Hodgson, he tweeted, #bliss, that was, how it is that Mel Brooks, you heard of me, and you're a fan of me, It's like my wife said when she was in college. What's the name of the guy? David Hyde Pierce came to some performance with them or something, and they were all fawning over him, like, we're such big fans of you. And David Hyde Pierce says, "You're fans of me. You're Westminster Choir College. I'm such a big fan of yours." So, and that's how we should embrace these messages of of humility. Excuse me. And that being said, that kind of goes back to something that I wanted to talk about and connected. I never saw the film Jesus Camp, but someone told me that it had things that were insulting against Billy Graham. And that's the same people who made this movie, One of Us. And as much as the filmmakers want to marginalize the Hasidic community and the left-wing media, and mostly secular Jews, many with communist leanings, want to marginalize the Hasidic community, the fact that the same bigots who insulted the Hasidic community by making such a disgusting film like One of Us insulted probably one of the greatest spiritual leaders in American history, of Billy Graham. Even if I disagree with his theology and his ideology, and I could disagree with him on a million things, but still recognize his greatness. Just like our rabbis always recognized the greatness of all kinds of pagan leaders who were good people, and certainly he wasn't a pagan, but I mean, Isaiah himself referred to King Cyrus as anointed, like Mashiach, as Messiah, as a messianic figure. And that was before Cyrus was even born. Hundreds of years before Cyrus was born. So my feeling is that if we're in the same persecuted bunch, we the Hasidic community are in the same persecuted bunch together with those who want to persecute Billy Graham, I feel like I'm in good company, because I would much rather be on the side of someone who is humble and nonpartisan and believed in what he believed in a simple way, and was great in what he did, and was a very talented speaker and so forth, and really made a big impact on American history. I'd much rather be grouped together with him than with the communist, atheist garbage, these filmmakers who made these disgusting, anti-religious, bigoted films, the bigots who made these films against insulting both Judaism and Christianity. And so I would much rather be lumped together with Christians who are being persecuted for their faith, and be persecuted as well by these communist bigots from the Hollywood media, who are self-styled filmmakers and really not that good at filmmaking either, than I would that just because the filmmaker happens to be quote-unquote born Jewish, whatever that means, that, oh, we're both Jews, that's nonsense, that's garbage. And I know that might offend a lot of people, especially the Lubavitchers, who make such a big deal about, oh, everything, you know, oh, are you Jewish, I can put tefillin on you. You don't even believe in God, and I'm going to strap tefillin on you, you know. But, but that's the truth. It's you know, and this is the issues that we find here in America today. How the difference between the left and the right. The right just wants to live and let live and be let alone, and the left wants to control everyone and make everyone to be like them. I mean, things have changed in the right in America. And that's why you have the left inventing this alt-right, which wants to basically ape their ways. So, I really had in mind to make a totally different video, but this is what came out today. I'm going to keep making videos. I'm going to keep making videos every day. I'm going to keep doing the Daf Yomi at least through the rest of Avodah Zarah. And if people are interested, I might keep going with that as well. Although personally, I would like to finish Shas within the year. So I'm learning Zvachim now and I'm trying to get ahead. So, all in all, thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, subscribe, comment. This is not intended to be an endorsement of Christianity. This is intended to be a word of finding common grounds with people who we disagree with and who we have differences with, and yet we have enough in common with that we can have a certain level of fellowship with, and just sharing my own memories and insights and things. So thank you all for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment, and hopefully this video will also get, you know, thousands of views the way the other videos about one of us have. And hopefully it'll also give perspective and open people's eyes to how today's left is not liberal, and the true liberals are on the right in America. The true liberals who are open-minded to say that there can be different people and different views and different ideologies are the people on the true right, and the left and the so-called alt-right, which is really just part of the left, or we could call the European right, but really they have much more in common with the left on so many issues. Those are the problem, both the left and the alt-right, and the real solution is the true liberals, the classical liberals or the libertarians, and the liberty-loving American right. You know, and we can include, there are many liberty-loving atheists as well. So, thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment. All the best. Take care.